Now this is quite something. It's the Oxi One MKII and it's a sequencer, but you probably know that already. But if you're anything like me, you'll have seen them on countless Instagram demos, at synth meets and live shows, where there's always someone doing something really cool with them, and they seem to be everywhere. And you know it's a sequencer, and you know it's got some special tricks up its sleeve, and everyone keeps telling you how great they are, but what exactly does it do, and why does everyone rave about them? And they were the questions I had on my mind when I picked this up a few weeks ago, and they're exactly what I'm hoping to answer in this demo today. So before I get as competent on this as someone like Ura or SynthDad, who've made loads of really good in-depth videos on this, which I highly recommend you take a look at. They really do know the machine inside out. Ura even helped as part of the development team. So as I say, before I get as familiar with the machines as them, I thought I'd give an overview, an explanation that answers all the questions a newbie might have that I might miss once they become too obvious to me. Because after watching their videos, I had all this information, but not necessarily the bits I needed for myself. A bit like a jigsaw, needed to take all the bits of information that I needed to do stuff the way I think I would do it, put that together in my head and create an overall picture of it, which is what I'm hoping, as I say, to demo to you today. It's not going to be an in-depth explanation of every single function on this, and after watching this you're probably not going to be able to pick it up and use it, but you'll probably want to pick one up and use it and get to learn it, because you'll understand exactly what it does. Going back to the very basics then, it's a multi-track sequencer. I'm sequencing the Dreadbox Nix, the Hades, the Erebus, the Nymphus and the TR909 with this at the minute, and it's doing it in lots of different ways. There's lots of ways of creating your own semi-random patterns, random patterns, self-generating patterns. In this, for example, I've only actually programmed this on the bass. Come to the bass, I've just got these notes. You can hear the notes are changing, and that's part of the generative nature of what this is doing. I've programmed one note on the bass, and if you come into the chords, I program the bass note on each of those chords, but it's in a chord mode, so it's playing different chords. And the other little lines you can hear playing on the Nix and the Erebus, they were all generated randomly. If we come into track 6, for example, let's come to track 6, you can see I've got this weird thing here. Now this is called Stochastic Mode. I'll go into what that is in a minute, but effectively I haven't told it what notes to play when. It's deciding what notes to play on each pass depending on the probability of each of the notes. They're the notes and they're the probability of them playing. And over on the right hand side we've got controls determining how much change there is from pattern to pattern as it loops around. You can have things absolutely rigid and repeating identically every loop like on a standard sequencer, but you can also go down loads of different routes to this self-generation and getting these really nice evolving patterns. And it's all held in this really nice, quite sexy looking little package. And I know that sounds like marketing blurb, but it is exactly what I found while I've been digging into this really deeply over the past few weeks. In this setup I've got at the minute, for example, I'm playing the Nix using different types of sequencer. At the minute we're using sequencer 1, and that's just 3 notes. And they were randomly generated. I'll get into that later. If we come into track 2, that'll play up to 4 tracks at once. You can see I'm playing 3 here. Let's open that. If we come into that, I've got 4 different tracks in there. This one's not doing anything, but you've got 4 matrices in there, each playing different things. So I'm adding notes. If I come back into the performance mode, we're now just listening to the first of those tracks. Add some. Add another one. And again, if we come back into that, you can see where the different notes are, and I'll dig into this in more detail later, but essentially these are your trigger points, your steps along the top in the 4x4 matrix, and the modulation buttons are in those colourful lower buttons. And each of the buttons represents a different modulation, like note or interval, gate, velocity, octave, 9 different options in all. These are the intervals. You can see we're raising the pitch on one note or on one step, and we're lowering it on another. And because I'm using different bar lengths for each of the modulations, it changes what it does on every bar. It becomes really unpredictable, but stays musical. And over here on this third one, I've got one that's changing the octave. That's not it. Oh, can't find it at the minute. I can't remember where the octave button is. So if we went to the notes, for example, there the notes are playing, but I can change all those. But again, it's only playing 12, so every time it loops around, it's playing something slightly different. Then it adds those intervals. If we come back into there and look at the intervals, but always in tune because you've set it to a scale. And again, the intervals are there doing 16 notes, but I could change that, come back into there, and then we go to the end on the intervals. So let's just play 8 notes, come back into the intervals, it's only playing 8. Let's just turn up that nick so you can hear it a bit better. So I found with this melody and playing on the nicks, or the line and playing on the nicks, they could do similar things in different ways. So on track 1, it was auto-generated. Track 2 is using the Matriceal sequencer. And on 3, there's just 3 notes. I went all out and programmed them myself. But it's playing 4. That's because I'm using the accumulator. I'll go into all this in a second again. Look at the step. It's playing twice. Play 3 times. It's playing different notes. It's got an accumulator on it. If I go into the next page, it's adding 2 semitones, 3 semitones, 1 semitone to a total of 7, and wrapping round. All very nice, all doing slightly different things. Let's have the repeats back onto 2. Do really fast repeats. Come back down. And those repeats are going over a duration of 4 steps. We can change, whoops, that's the wrong one. Change the actual rhythm of that. So there are multiple ways of getting to the same or similar results using different modes and different randomization. We've got down here, we've got a standard randomizer. We've also got a Euclidean generator. There's the standard randomizer. There's a Euclidean generator. And then you've got the accumulative just use where you can increase the pitch of the notes or decrease the pitch of the notes or do all sorts of different things. And of course, you can change the rhythm of those, the repeats on them, the duration of the repeats. So tons and tons of stuff to look at in mono mode alone. And then we've got the Matriceal mode you've seen me just have a little play with, and we've got, where was it the Stochastic mode. So there's so many ways of creating ever evolving and interesting patches that it is a little bit overwhelming when you get it out the box. So on the right, as we've seen here, we've got the track lanes, and this gives lots of different information depending on what you're doing. So as I say, this was Stochastic Mode. Let's go to another one. This is just a standard sequencer mode. This was in Chord Mode. Let's try another. Oh yeah, okay, we've got this is the drum pad mode. We can have that as the drums laid out like this, or as. And then we've got performance mode. So this is where you play the whole track, as it were. We can bring things in and out. So let's add a little, add a kick, add a hi-hat, ride. We can do little clever things in this as well. We can even got chord changes there at the minute. If I come out of that and go to load mode, you can see we've got lots of different patterns in each of the tracks. I think this one's a standard, just a single note on there. There you go. So everything that's following 8, as we saw earlier, is now playing the same note over and over because it's not, the chord's not changing. But if I load another one, an empty one, and then come into 8, as I play the chords, but we can change the chord types over there. Then change the spread of those notes so you can see the notes, what notes are actually playing, changes. See the white notes, depending on the spread and the intervals that we're using. So each of the types of sequencer has different views. We've got keyboard views on them as well. And then we've got an arrangement view, and I've not created an arrangement or a whole song yet. That's for a later video because there's so much to look at just on how it all works. Down here we've got ARP and ARP hold as well. We've got different types of ARPs. Octave ranges, gates and the rest of it. And obviously these knobs are contextual. It depends on what you're looking at. I'll just turn that off, otherwise that'll confuse me. Turn the keyboard preview off, turn the arpeggiator off. So this is back to just looking at a very simple pattern. On pattern 1, that's playing the nicks. And if we hold one of the steps, we can look at what's on that step. And if we've got different pages, we can flick through those submenus. We can look at the track itself, information on the track itself. If we come to the drum track, for example, got the drum track, and as we go through each of the different tracks, you can get the information on each of those. If we turn the page, so we can see each of them are playing a different key, C1, D1, D1 sharp, and I've set them up to follow the TR909 there. So as again, if I put this into the keyboard mode, whoops, and then increase in volume. Each of the sequencer tracks has got a couple of LFOs, so come back into track 1 perhaps, hit the LFO. And I am actually using these LFOs. If I go into the shift, you'll see there's different text underneath the main text, hit shift, CV gate. I'm sending an LFO out to the Erebus, I'm sending an LFO out to the Nicks. And we select, so track 1, sequencer 1, I'm sending out to CV2. And if we hit on that, we can see I'm sending LFO 1 from track 1. On this, I'm sending LFO 1 from track 3. If I play stuff, you can see, you might be able to see it picking up that that's actually moving. Whoops. And that's just gently changing the cutoff. And if we go into track 3, in fact, and we look at the LFO on there, you can hear it's modulating the Nicks cutoff frequency. That's 1 bar long, let's make it a little more rhythmic. And then these select different modes you're in. So performance mode, modulation, you can set up CCs. You can record CCs like you would in a DAW, so you can modulate over the whole bar. And you set all those modulations up in the modulation page, obviously. And just to show you, as you hit these knobs, you go to the second set of menu settings. It's the same for all the menus on this. If we want to change the CC on this, so CC 16, let's change it to, in fact, let's hit it. We've got 2 CC destinations that we can have on each of them, so let's put down to 11. But let's go back to the top one. Let's change that one to general purpose 2, number 17, and come out of there. Oops, there we go, CC 17. So if you see the page button flashing, it means you've got more than one page you can look at. So again, I think I showed this earlier. If you hold one of these step buttons, look at the step, we've got different pages that we can flick through. Got the start and end point for your patterns, so hit end. You've got up to 128 steps you can have on each of them. I'm not going to change it now, but you can see step 64, end, and hit that. Well, let's do it. Now it's 64 step pattern, but let's come back again to 16, shall we, because that will confuse me no end. And you can nudge your patterns around using these as well, up and down. So it's actually pretty easy to find your way around once you know what everything does. So load, let's come back out of that, save. Nice having this back button, shift config. So we've got MIDI and analog settings in there. If I hit the MIDI, you'll notice I've got this split. This is a split 2, and we've got the TRS out coming into the split 2. And from that, we've got 2 MIDI 5-pin DINs, plus we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 other TRS out as well. So in this little setup I've got here, I've got out A going to the 909, and that's going through and into the Erebus, and then the Hades is from B, C is the Nix, and D is the Nymphus. But if you had an awful lot of stuff and you got MIDI throughs and the rest of it, you can get an awful lot of stuff plugged into the back of this. I should also show this as well. And this is the Oxi Pipe 2. We've got 8 CV outs and 8 gate outs, just replicating what you've got on the back of the machine itself. Clock out and a reset out, and this is linked to it via an HDMI cable that it comes with. So you stick this into your Euro rack, and it just means that you don't have to have sort of 16 different cables from the machine itself into your rack. You can just have a single HDMI, and I'll probably be playing with that soon as well. But yeah, if you're using the split box, you need to tell it in the configuration that you're using the split box so it knows it's got A to F on the MIDI outs. And if you're wondering, this is a little thing coming out from DF Audio. I'm using it as a little mixer at the minute. I'm mixing the Erebus and the Nix. So I've just got one single output from the two of them into my interface. Let's take a look at the different modes we've got on this then. Each of these tracks is in a different mode. If we look on the top left, we can see mono, matricial mono, multi-mono, stochastic mono, and chord. In mono mode, it's just like a standard sequencer, as you might imagine. These are the notes, they're the steps. At the minute, these are all playing the same note, you'll notice. And that's because we're in harmonic mode here. And that means it's following S8, which is sequencer 8. So it's following the chords on sequencer 8. I'll take that off for a second. So we'll put the scale onto a minor, C minor. So it does exactly what you might expect. And as you saw me doing earlier, we can go in and we can start playing around with each of those notes. We can add steps, we can repeat steps, we can change the duration on them, all that sort of stuff. If we hit preview there, we've got, oh, I've got it on ARP mode. Let's take the ARP off for now. Oh, that's nice. We've got a keyboard. And as we're in C minor, everything in red won't get played. So you can see when I hit this key, it's playing that one. And this just helps keep everything in tune, especially when you're doing anything generative, so that everything is playing the right notes. You'll notice that these are all dull, and that's because they're muted. If I double hit mute, you can see the flashing green. When I hit mute again, they'll all unmute. Go to performance mode, so I can mute them like that, or separately. When I let this go, they'll mute. And you'll notice this is now playing a single note, and that's because it's following 8, but 8 isn't playing. If I unmute 8. Now, I've muted channel 8's part, or the pattern, but not channel 8 itself, so it's still following it. If I mute the pattern, or the whole track, sorry, it can't hear it, as it were. So different mutes do slightly different things. So bring the kicks in. Anyway, we were looking at the mono mode, weren't we? Let's find one in poly mode. I don't think we're using 5. Let's unmute everything, see what we've got. Five doesn't seem to be doing anything, does it? Let's go into it and have a look. No. Okay, let's put 5 into poly mode. So this is quite a nice way of showing you how you set up a track. So Shift and 5, change the mode to poly. There we go. And then we'll make sure it's coming, because it's poly, we want it coming out of the nymphus. That's on D, I think. So 1D, let's get it to 1D. There we go. So now I'm going to play on this. Let's go to the keyboard. Yeah. So these are octaves. Not the best sounds we do with that on, really, but yeah, octaves. So you've got octave, 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 octave. So you've got, what's that? Is it 7 octaves? And because we are in a minor scale, if we come out of this, hold Shift, we can see we're in a minor scale there. If we change it to a major scale, we can see that we're changing, or as we change the scales, we change what notes are available. So put it back into minor. We can add notes in a step mode. So other. Or you can record live as well. And let's put the endpoint on, I don't know, 32. So you've got 2 bars for me to mess up as I'm trying to play on this keyboard. So press record. I've set the metronome up to go to the 909, so you'll hear a 909 click. Get 2 bars in, set that up in the MIDI settings. And you'll notice that one's just playing the single note, and that's because it's following 8 still, isn't it? If we go into 1, and then we change the, where are we? The harmony on that. Oops, just press Shift. Put that into minor again. But it doesn't quite work, which is why we do try and keep things with the harmonizers. So let's turn track 5 off and turn track 8 on again. Next up then, let's take a look at the matricial. We did see a little bit of this earlier, didn't we? If we come to the performance mode, just check I'm not playing anything else through the mix. Okay, you may be able to guess how this works from what I showed earlier, but we've got nothing on 1 at the minute. And if we go back into the performance, I'm only playing 1. We can unmute the others, but I'm gonna just play 1 for now. So double click on 2, now we're in here, so nothing's playing. Let's add some notes. All playing the same note, we're on the minor, we're not following anything else. On the minor scale, let's change some notes, so double click on the notes. And this is only playing, what is that, 13 is that? Beats, or steps I should say, so change the end, come back in there, now we're only playing these. Everything's to scale, but every time it plays it's playing something different. Let's go in then and add some intervals, so add an interval. It's starting to add. In fact, if we come and take the notes off, you'll hear it more obviously. You can hear that's changing, can't you? It's adding. Let's take 1 away. Let's change the length of that. So back into here, where are we? It's only playing 8 at the minute. Let's put the end there, 9. Back in, double click. So we're getting this ever-evolving pattern. Change the notes maybe. And you never know when one of these is going to hit, because it's getting pretty random now, isn't it? Because this is only playing 7 steps. The intervals are playing, what's that, 9 steps. And yet the triggers are playing every 16 steps. So the triggers are always hitting in the same place, but the notes changing every time you do that. And we can change directions and stuff like that. So if we go to the, let's go to the intervals. Change the direction of the intervals, backwards and forwards, backwards, drunk, so it sort of falls around like it's trying to walk on a ship in a storm, and that's just random. So a beautiful way of doing interesting things, sort of semi-random almost, because you can plot what it's going to do. So for example, I haven't plotted the notes, but if we come back into here, if we go back to the performance mode, bring in the second on. So I've added those notes there. Add another. So you can play around with that and do really interesting things and build stuff, but based around the same sort of random pattern. Or you could have them all as strict patterns, obviously just add notes, stuff like that. Let's look at chord mode. We did look at it briefly earlier, so there's not a lot more to say about it really, but picks the chords, playing the root note, different chords, different inversions, different spreads. And of course, everything else is following this. So if I play, And you can put in your own chords in there as well. Next one to look at then is the stochastic mode. And again, we did look at this earlier. We're in C minor here, so we've only got the C minor notes we can play. And this isn't the sequence, this is the choice of notes. So at the minute, nothing will play. But if I say 100% chance a C will play, there's the octaves. So that's the percentage chance this note will play. So let's put it at 50%. Let's put another note in there. Now this is the probability of things changing. So this is the pitch, changing the pitch on the notes. This is the amount of variation on the rhythm. So you find something you like. Slight variations. This is the length of those notes, but it's not really doing much because this is set up over here just to those little impulses. Octaves. So that can just bubble along in the background, do really nice little things. And then along with the harmonizing, so where are we? Shift, scale, put it onto the harmonizing and bring in track 8. Just bubbling along underneath nicely. That's all beautiful, isn't it? Now we can add the other one on the mix. Just playing around with the Erebus, trying to get it to sit a little bit nicer in the mix. Nice, just sits there underneath, slightly evolving every time. Well, I think the only one we haven't looked at then is multitrack. So let's put all these drums on for now. Set this up as a 909 template, and as I showed earlier, each of the tracks corresponds to a different note on the 909. Just makes it easy for me to set this up. I have set it up so that it is a separate note for each of the tracks, but you can have it as 8 independent mono sequences. You just don't get access to as much stuff as you get on a standard mono track or mono sequencer. But in this, if we play stuff, we can mute things. We can solo them. So we can play around with it live in this mode. But let's listen to only the rim shot. Just show you that we do have some options in here, so let's set these up so they only trigger once every 4 bars. So 1. And it's triggering on the first of those 4 bars. Here we go. You could trigger them on the last of those 4 bars. There we go. Or 1 every 2 bars. So the second bar. And of course we can do things like, if we click on that and then page, we can get repeats on there. So let's do 3 repeats. Let's do them over a single step. Let's just change the trigger on that as well, so it plays every time, so you can hear what it's doing. 100%. Obviously, you've got probability in there as well. Or nothing. But let's have it so that it plays 100% of the time. Hold that. Page. Change the duration. Change the groove on that. Change the volume. Come to the volume and the velocity on that. So little things you can do on there, but not as comprehensive as a standard mono channel. But yeah, performing live, it's great. Let's change that Nick slideshow, it's annoying me now. Let's put it back on the harmonic, onto sequencer 8. Let's turn all those rims off. So I think that's all the sequencer mode. I think I've gone through all 6 of them. I'd like to now show you some of the randomization options. Let's load a new pattern into track 1. And let's go in and take a look at it. So we go to randomization. Shift and randomization, and let's just randomize something. So we've got a density of 70%, random notes at 25%, the range is 12 semitones, and there we go. And it's following 8. Try another one. Try another one. That's nice. Let's add those chords. In fact, let's add the rest of it. It's quite nice. It's nice, that, isn't it? So that's one way of randomizing things. I might just save that. Save, not load. Save. Let's load the new one with nothing in it. That one's got nothing in it there. So, and now let's, one save there, not load. Let's load that one. So let's generate something using the Euclidean generator. So on the Euclidean generator, how many pulses do we want in there? 2, 3, 4. Again, it's following the notes because it's in harmonic mode. So let's change the notes. Change the amount of pulses. Nice. Then we could take that and we could go in there and then we could do all the other stuff we were doing, add some repeats. Use the accumulator, but hopefully you get the idea that we can do an awful lot of generative stuff on this. Whether it's through the standard randomizer, the Euclidean generator, the accumulator, the Matriceal Mode. There's so many different ways of doing nice things that just take you places you wouldn't normally go. So there you have it, the Oxi One Mark II. I think I've showed everything I wanted to demo there. I just wanted to demystify it and show you what all the different bits of it could do, why people rave about it, and how you'd go about using it. And hopefully, now you've seen this, you'll know if you think you could use one or not. I've spent a lot of time playing with this over the last few weeks, much more time than I anticipated making this video, to be honest, because I keep on getting lost, not lost in it, but lost in the music, lost in the just creating nice things and enjoying myself with it. So it's taken me a lot longer to do this than I'd hoped, actually, but that's a good thing because I've been playing with it and enjoying it. So I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do subscribe, ring the bell. Join me over on Patreon. There's tutorials, there's patches, there's samples there. And also do take a look at my starskycar.com website. There's patches, there's samples, there's stuff you can buy, there's free bits and bobs as well. But as I always say, it's nice if people do pick up some of even the cheaper bits, because it does all really help to support the channel. Anyway, thanks for staying to the very end, and I will see you next time.